Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Zach, and this is Preschool Storytime with Hudson Public Library. Let's get started. Hello, hello to you and you and you. Hello, hello to you and you and you. A big hello, a small hello, a hi hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello to you and you and you. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Let's get started. So, just like every week, I will start out with my recommendations for books that are this week's theme. If you want to jump right into the story time, then you can always feel free to jump ahead of this. But I think that these are really fun suggestions to get you started. So all these are available at the Hudson Public Library. So this week's theme is harvest. So I know it feels like it's getting real cold outside and it seems a little bit late to do this one, but I feel like this is a nice time of year to see the change of seasons and to talk about what that means with kids and to talk about where the food that you are eating now that it's cold and there's not as much being grown around here came from. So it's fun to kind of look back. Alrighty. Especially because I know that there's quite a few farm families around here, so it's always a fun thing to talk about. All right, so my first suggestion here is Harvest by Chris Walder. And this one is a fun book all about the types of things that you get in a harvest, the types of food that come from the fall, and these really fun foods, carrots, apples, pumpkin, cabbage, all sorts of things. Lots of very just pretty illustrations of these plants. Really fun one. All right, next we've got Hard Scrabble Harvest, and that is by Delov Ipkar. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, so sorry if that author happens to be watching this. So this has just gorgeous illustrations in it. It's a really unique style. And it is all about all the hard work that has to be put in to get a good harvest. And then all the struggles with doing that and then how it ends up working out in the end. Really fun one. All right, so the next one we've got is Autumn Harvest by Alvin Tresselt. And this one is got a really unique style to it. It's kind of hard to tell just from the cover, but it's got almost a woodblock print style. You can see like right there. And this one is also all about the types of things that you get in a harvest, looking forward to it, doing that together with the people that you care about. Really fun one too. All right, so I've got quite a few this week. All right, so if you want to get something nonfiction, then this one is cool. It's from the Life on the Farm series, and it is Farm Crops. And this one has real pictures of them. And so you can see some familiar sights, like in this one, you've got the field of corn with the barns and silos behind it. But this is a really good early picture book. It's got the vocab words in bold, and so that's really good for talking about this. I think this is really good for explaining some of the things that kids are going to see that around them. So it talks about the planting of the crops, the harvesting, but it's got a lot of pictures that are going to be really familiar to kids looking outside around this area. Alrighty, so then I've got a couple ones that I thought would be a fun related theme of gardens, harvesting things from the gardens. So this first one is Blue Potatoes, Orange Tomatoes by Rosalind Creasy. And this one is all about the types of beautiful colors that you see in a big garden. So you can see some just gorgeous illustrations here. So you've got a yellow watermelon, you've got oranges, plums, cherries, all sorts of things in here. and then it talks about the types of fruits and veggies that you're going to see growing in here, but really good for talking about food and where it comes from. So especially if you're wanting to get kids to kind of understand that the food comes from the ground and where that is, make a connection to that. I think that's a fun one. So this next one is less of a storybook to do, but more of an activity book. And I would say that this one, depending on your comfort level and age level, has got lots of different projects in it that would be great for going in the garden. I know it's a little late, but there's always some stuff that you can do in the garden. It's a little late, even at this time, to plant some cover crops, but you can do some things getting in there. And so this one is the Book of Gardening Projects for Kids. So the subtitle is 101 Ways to Get Kids Outside, Dirty, and Having Fun. And that's by Whitney Cohen and John Fisher. So lots of fun gardening projects on here. You could plan ahead for spring if you like, but there are a few winter things in here to do as well. So how to do seed saving, how to look at bugs, how to make planting calendars, lots of really cool things in here. All right, and then the last one I've got is a little bit unique. So I would recommend taking a look at this before you read some of the stories, because some of them are a little bit old, and sometimes those old stories can feel a little bit outdated. But this one has got some classic stories in it, and keeping with the theme, it is a harvest of Russian children's literature. And so this one was edited by Miriam Morton, and this one is a collection of old stories. So not all of them are going to be about harvest or about food, but a lot of these stories are. That is really an important part of storytelling for a lot of cultures. And so there's some fun songs in here. There's some good rhymes, some just classic stories. So I'd recommend taking a look at that one if you get the chance. All right, so those are my suggestions. All right, so if you are just joining me now, if you skip that, or if you listen through that, I think either way, we need to get a little bit of movement in here. So if you haven't seen my other videos, you know, I've got my magic die and my list of what it means. So I will roll that if my paper wouldn't try to run away from me. And so every number on the magic die corresponds, and I know that's a big word, that means it goes with a different type of activity. So let's roll and see what it is. All right, that's a 5. That's a fun one. That is running in place. So let's get out of our chairs if you're sitting down. If you're already standing up, then that's great too. So, all right. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your feet on the ground, get ready, and then you're just going to jog in place. Are you ready? Yeah, just like that. And then let's say do that for a couple more seconds. Can you count to 5 with me? If you can't count to 5, that's okay. You can just listen along. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh, how do you feel after that? Good? I always think that gets me happy, just getting a little bit of movement in. I always love drinking water. It's great for you. All right, so now I think we're gonna do a fun little puppet show. So I changed this one up just a little bit to make it easier with not so many puppets. And this one is about the fisherman catching a fish, but it's a little bit of a different fish than you might think. Just grabbing them over here. All right, that took me a second longer to get those than I thought it would. So this one is taken from Hans Christian Andersen. All right, once upon a time, there was a fisherman who was out fishing, casting his net into a stream when all of a sudden he sees an enormous fish. And that fish looks different than any fish he's ever seen before. Now remember, he's a fisherman. He knows fish. And this fish is different, not just in the way it looks, but because it talks. And the fish says, "Hello, I am a magic fish." And the fisherman says, well, if you're talking, that seems magical enough for me. And the fish says, "Yes, so please let me go. I'm no ordinary fish." And so the fisherman says, "I agree. I'll throw you back." And so the fisherman gently puts the fish back in the river. But then the fisherman leaves, and when he gets home, he starts to think, now that fish was special. So, I wonder, did I miss out on an opportunity here? What if? So the other people in the town, they always told me that if you see something magical, maybe it'll grant you a wish. I'm going to go back and catch that fish again and see if it'll get me a wish. So that's just what the fisherman did. He goes back out to the river and he casts his net again in the same spot, and then he pulls it in. And what do you think he sees? Yeah, you're smart. That's right. He sees the same magic fish. And the magic fish says, "What are you doing? I just saw you earlier today." And the fisherman says, "I realized that I missed an opportunity, that I could ask you for a wish." And the fish says, "You're right. So, wish for anything you like if you'll put me back again." And the fisherman says, "Aha, so I think what I'm going to wish for is wealth. I want to be the richest person in the whole land." And so the fish says, "You've got it." So the fisherman looks around and he decides, "I'll go home to see if this worked." So he goes home, and when he gets there, what do you think he sees but a magical looking treasure chest? And when he opens up that treasure chest, let's see if I can make him open it up here. Yeah, he's got it there. Open up the latch, flips it open, and wow, it's riches beyond compare. Gold, jewels, all sorts of beautiful things. And he thinks, wow, my wish really did come true. So he's happy for a while. He thinks, I have the wealth I wanted. But what do you think happens now? So he starts to think, well, that was a pretty good wish, but did I waste it? So he decides, I'm going to get a better wish. So he goes back down to the river, and he decides to cast out his net again in the same spot. And what do you think he finds? That's right, he finds the same magic fish. And the magic fish at this point is kind of annoyed. So the fish says, what are you doing? I just saw you yesterday. And he says, well, I realized that I could make a more powerful wish. And the fish says, I was hoping you would be happy with what you got before, but that's okay. I will grant you a new wish. And so the fisherman says, wealth only got me so far, but what I really want is power. I wish that I was the ruler of this land. And so the fish said, okay, your wish will be granted. Go home and it will be so. And so that's what the fisherman did. He left and went to his house. And when he got there, he found out that it wasn't an ordinary house anymore. It was a fantastic castle. And he was now the king. Look at his wonderful crown. And he says, I am now the ruler of the land. Those riches before were nothing. Now I have wealth and power. So, what do you think? Do you think that the fisherman should be happy now? Would you be? Do you think he is? Well, what do you think, fisherman? Are you happy with your wish now? And he says, no. So, oh, that crown does not want to stay off. So the fisherman says, no, I'm going to put that over there because it keeps wanting to fall. I think I can do better. And I don't think that being a king is good enough for me. I don't think riches are good enough for me. So I want to have more. I'm going to ask this fish one more time for the greatest wish of all. So the fisherman decides he's going to go back down to the river, cast his net in the same spot, and what do you think he finds? Yeah, if you guess the fish, then you are right. And the fish springs up out of the net and says, what's going on? I'm seeing you again. And the fisherman says, that wish was pretty good, but I think we can do better. And the fish says, why are you not happy with the wish you got before? And the fisherman says, I want more. I deserve better. In fact, my new wish is that I wish to be the ruler of everything, the whole world, the whole universe. And the fish says, go home and see what you will see. So the fisherman takes that as a good sign. He decides to go home. And what do you think he sees when he's there? If you think he sees the riches, do you think he sees that he's the king? Do you think he sees that he's now the ruler of the universe? So the fisherman goes back home and sees nothing. So his home has gone back to the way it was before. He no longer has the riches, he no longer has the kingdom, and he definitely isn't the ruler of the universe. So he looks around and realizes, maybe those things didn't make me happy after all. Maybe the riches, maybe the power, and probably not if I had been the ruler of the universe. And he sits back down and he thinks about it. All right, what do you think about that story? It's a little bit of a different one. What do you think it's about? So what do you think it's trying to tell you? Do you like the fisherman? Do you think he was right? All right, I always think it's good to think about a story and what it means to you. If you like it, then that's great. What do you like about it? If you don't, then what do you not like about it? It's always fun to talk about stories. All right, so now I think we're going to do a little bit of a song. And this one is a classic. Now, this song is supposed to be done in a group, but since we don't really have a group here, I think that we can do it by ourselves. What do you think? Yeah, I think we can. All right, so this is an old English harvest song that children will sing, and it's called Oats, Peas, Beans, and Barley Grow. So I'm going to sing the chorus for you just slowly one time, and then we'll go through it so that we can sing it together. If you want to sing along with me, the chorus, that is great. So, oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Can you or I or anyone know how oats, peas, beans, and barley grow? So that's the chorus. So if you can remember that part, you can sing along with me. So I'm going to sing it a little bit faster in the same tune, and then we're going to go through this together. Are you ready? Yeah. So there's some actions you can do with them too if you want, and I'll show you those as we go along. Let's get started. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Can you or I or anyone know how oats, peas, beans, and barley grow? First the farmer sows his seeds, then he stands and takes his ease. He stamps his foot and claps his hands and turns around to view his lands. Alrighty, you ready? It's a chorus again. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Can you or I or anyone know how oats, peas, beans, and barley grow? Alrighty. Next, the farmer waters his seed. Then he stands and takes his ease. He stamps his foot and claps his hands and turns around to view his lands. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Could you or I or anyone know how oats, peas, beans, and barley grow? Next, the farmer hoes his weeds. Then he stands and takes his ease. He stamps his foot and claps his hands and turns around to view his lands. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Can you or I or anyone know how oats, peas, beans, and barley grow? All right, you ready? This is the last verse before the chorus. Last, the farmer harvests his seeds. So yeah, bring them into yourself like you're harvesting. So last, the farmer harvests his seeds. Then he stands and takes his ease. He stamps his foot and claps his hands and turns around to view his lands. All right, this is the last chorus. You ready? Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grow. Could you or I or anyone know how oats, peas, beans, and barley grow? All righty, did you have fun with that? I think that is such a fun song. So if you want to do that in a group, then you'll just act out the actions, and every time there's a new chorus, you switch with somebody else in the group. So you stand in a circle, and then whoever gets, and there first is the farmer, and then the farmer, when they're done with their chorus, they pick somebody else to be the new farmer, and then you go around until everybody has had their turn. All right. I think we need a little more movement. So let's see what the magic die has us do this time. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, this is my favorite one. So we got a number 6, and that is dance. So let's get up. Dancing is all about being yourself. You can dance however you like. It doesn't matter if you look silly. Dancing is all about looking silly. So when I say go, we're gonna dance for 10 seconds. You can do whatever kind of dance you like. Just be sure to be careful not to bump into anybody around you if you've got some other people. But let's get started. Are you ready? Set, dance. All right. You can do whatever you like. Parents, if you want to join in, that is fine. What is that one? Alrighty, I think that's good. Did you all have fun dancing? I always think dancing is lots of fun. All right, so now to end our story time, I'm going to read from our longer story. And this will be fun because I think we're going to finish this one today. So, if you haven't seen these videos before, I've been reading The Velveteen Rabbit, and that is by Marjorie Williams. And this is about a velveteen or really soft fabric rabbit who wants to become real. And this rabbit now, do you remember what happened in the last part? Alrighty, if you've been watching along with me, then you might remember that the very last thing that happened was that the rabbit sees a magic fairy. So let's find out what happens now. And there's an illustration right away for this one. So that's what the fairy looks like, standing on a flower. And can you read what it says right there? The fairy flower. All right. She was quite the loveliest fairy in the whole world. Her dress was of pearl and dewdrops, and there were flowers round her neck and in her hair, and her face was like the most perfect flower of all. And she came close to the little rabbit and gathered him up in her arms and kissed him on his velveteen nose that was all damp from crying. So remember that the Velveteen Rabbit was sad when we last left off. Little rabbit, she said, don't you know who I am? The rabbit looked up at her, and it seemed to him that he had seen her face before, but he couldn't think of where. I am the nursery magic fairy, she said. I take care of all the playthings. that the children have loved. When they are old and worn out and the children don't need them anymore, then I come and take them away with me and turn them into real. Wasn't I real before? Asked the little rabbit. You were real to the boy, the fairy said. So remember, the boy is the one who owned the Velveteen Rabbit. Because he loved you, now you shall be real to everyone. And she held the little rabbit close in her arms and flew with him into the wood. It was light now, for the moon had risen. All the forest was beautiful, and the fronds of the bracken shone like the frosted silver. In the open glade between the tree trunks, the wild rabbits danced with their shadows on the velvet grass. But when they saw the fairy, they all stopped dancing, and they stood around in a ring to stare at her. I've brought you a new playfellow. So that's an old word that means like a friend that you play with. The fairy said, you must be very kind to him and teach him all he needs to know in Rabbitland, for he is going to live with you forever and ever. And she kissed the little rabbit again and put him down on the grass. Run and play, little rabbit, she said. But the little rabbit sat quite still for a moment and never moved. For when he saw all the wild rabbits dancing around him, he suddenly remembered about his hind legs, and he didn't want them to see that he was made all in one piece. So remember, the little rabbit, his hind legs, he's embarrassed about them because they're different than the other rabbits. He did not know when the fairy kissed him that last time she had changed him altogether. And he might have sat there for a long time, too shy to move, if just then something hadn't tickled his nose, and before he thought what he was doing, he lifted his hind toe to scratch it. So he's got a hind toe now. And he found that he actually had hind legs. Instead of dingy velveteen, he had brown fur, soft and shiny. His ears twitched by themselves, and his whiskers were so long that they brushed the grass. He gave one leap, and the joy of using those hind legs was so great that he went springing about the turf on them, jumping sideways and whirling around as the others did. He grew so excited that when at last he did stop to look for the fairy, she was gone. He was a real rabbit at last, at home with the other rabbits. Alrighty, do you think this rabbit's happy? He sounds very happy to me. So here's the illustration page on this too. So you can see the Velveteen Rabbit is a real rabbit now, running around with all the other real rabbits. And the caption says, at last, at last. So the rabbit is very happy about this. All right, it's almost the end of our story. Autumn passed and winter, and in the spring, when the days grew warm and sunny, the boy went out to play in the wood behind the house. And while he was playing, two rabbits crept out from the bracken and peeped at him. One of them was brown all over, but the other had strange markings under his fur, as though long ago he had been spotted, and the spots still showed through. And about his little soft nose and his round black eyes, there was something familiar, so that the boy thought to himself, why, he looks just like my old bunny that was lost when I had scarlet fever. So remember that the boy was very sick a couple chapters ago. But he never knew that it really was his own bunny come back to look at the child who had first helped him to be real. The end. And then it's just a nice illustration page of lots of real bunnies. All right, so that is the end of that story. What did you think? Did you like that story? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? All right, so next story time, we are going to be starting a new long story for you all. So thank you everyone so much for joining me. I am Mr. Zach. This is Hudson Public Library, and this has been Preschool Storytime. I hope that you join me again next time. The theme will be snow. Bye.